everybody. Thank you all for attending tonight's Planning Commission meeting. Can we have roll call, please?
Chair Baldino,
Present?
Vice Chair Newman,
Here.
Commissioner Kilduff,
Here.
Commissioner Heschler, and Commissioner McGay is absent.
Is Jay's mic on?
Jay's there. He's not here, he's there.
We can see him. All right, now it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask you all to rise and join Commissioner Keldorf in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Now it's time on the agenda for public communications. This is for public communications regarding anything that's not already on the agenda. So if you're here to speak about the Pacific Coast Commons, we will have a separate public communication about that item later on. So anyone wishing to have any general comments to the Planning Commission, please step forward.
Hey Ryan, this is Jay, can you hear me? Because I have no audio on the Zoom.
Jay has no audio. You look fantastic.
El Segundo TV, can you assist Commissioner Heschler with this, please?
It just came in, we got it.
You can hear us now, Jay?
So when you called roll, I couldn't hear you, but I am here.
We saw you're there. Thank you, Jay.
You've got it.
Okay, seeing no one rush to the podium, Venus, Eduardo, is there anyone on Zoom who wants to make public comments at this time? They could raise their hands or otherwise.
Yeah, we'll check for those of you joining this meeting via Zoom. If there's anyone who wishes to make any kind of comments on items not on the agenda, now is your opportunity to do so. Just simply turn your mic on.
Okay,
5,
seeing
4,
nothing
3, 2,
there.
1.
We'll go ahead and close public communications. Thank you. Next is written communications, other what's in the agenda packet. I know that we received a letter, yes?
Yes, as the commission knows, is aware, we did send a memo to the commission, and we did post that on the city's website as well. It's just some supplemental information regarding the project that is before the commission tonight. It's just a clarification of some of the issues and topics that were addressed in the staff report, and primarily of how we've gotten to this point, and addressing some issues that had come along the way, and how staff had addressed those, and how some of those issues were addressed through conditions of approval, and how some other issues were not really fully vetted out and clarified. So anyhow, that is what was given to the Planning Commission and posted online, and we can talk about that more when the appropriate time comes for this particular item.
Okay, and then can you describe the letter as well?
Oh, I'm sorry. And then in terms of a letter, yes, the staff is in receipt of a letter challenging or commenting on the environmental document that was prepared for the Pacific Coast Commons project. And so we are in receipt of that letter. It is a couple hundred pages long. And so we will go ahead and distribute that. We just got that literally a couple hours ago. So we'll distribute that to the commission, post that letter as well on the city's website. And then we can discuss that in more detail in terms of how us obtaining that letter will impact this item later on.
All right, thank you, Eduardo. Next item is the consent calendar, and the only thing we have in the consent calendar is a motion to allow the Zoom meeting. Can I get a motion to approve consent?
Motion to approve consent.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, we need a roll call vote, please.
Chair Baldino,
Aye.
Vice Chair Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilduff,
Aye.
Commissioner Heschler,
Aye?
and Commissioner McGay is absent.
Thank you, Venus. All right, now on the agenda, we are dealing with the Pacific Coast Commons Specific Plan and Environmental Impact Report. This is for the project address of 475 through 629 North Pacific Coast Highway. As Eduardo mentioned, because we received this last-minute detailed letter regarding CEQA, it has been the recommendation of staff that we continue this ultimately to a date in the future so that that letter can be responded to as needed. That having been said, anyone who's here to make public comments, I'm going to open public communications so I can hear your comments if you've taken the time to come down here. But there won't be really any staff report or presentation until we have a complete report before the commission. All right, so with that having been said, anyone who wishes to make public comment on this agenda item, I will open public comments at this time. Please feel free to step forward and use the microphone. Going once.
My name is Nino Moskalo. Can you hear me?
Yes, say your last name again, please, sir.
Moskalo, M-A-S-C-O-L-O.
Thank you. Go ahead and provide your comments, please.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I've got two topics that I wanted to address. The first is water supply, and the second is parking. With regard to water supply, the environmental report does a really good job of talking about the capacity of the water infrastructure in the area and why there is sufficient capacity to provide water to the PCC development. What it doesn't do is talk about water quantity. The only thing that I saw in the documentation was a will serve letter from the utility, and that was it. As most of you are aware, we have been in a drought for the past 2 years. State Water Resources Control Board and the governor's office are considering imposing significant fines on people if they do not decrease the amount of water that they are currently using. And the environmental report didn't address anything dealing with drought. It didn't talk about whether or not there was an incremental increase or to what extent more water may be used by the PCC development than what is being currently used under the existing baseline conditions. To me, given the need for reducing water supplies across the state, that's a pretty critical issue. For years, various local governments and imposing restrictions on development haven't looked at that. They've looked at other things. But I think it's all in our best interest in the state of California to have this project's water use evaluated and making sure that the burden of any increased use isn't going to fall on all of citizens of El Segundo, but rather on the developer who wants to use potentially an increased water supply over baseline. My second comment is on parking, and the environmental report and the appendices note that we're going to have a before-after parking study, which that's nice. It's a good idea, but it lacks in a couple of things. The main reason is if we find that there are parking impacts that are incurred due to the PCC project, the burden then falls upon the property owners in the area, their guests, and the public to figure out what to do. It doesn't require that PCC as a developer address any impacts that may occur due to the project in the after component of that study. One of the suggestions is that a parking permit plan come into effect. Well, that's going to impact local property owners and guests. And as you know, you've got a nice park that's being used under the SCE power lines. A lot of folks like to go out there. That parking could be impacted also. And I don't know how practical it would be to impose a parking permit program for people who want to use that park. If there is an impact from the PCC in the after effects, the after conclusions of the study, I propose that the mitigation beyond PCC residents and employees make those individuals obtain a parking permit program, ensure that all of the employees and residents have a parking pass, and that if they are then found to be parking on streets adjacent to the PCC facilities, that those folks be ticketed, not the property owners, not the public who use the park. or the people that might actually use the commercial facilities within the PCC development. It just, otherwise, it doesn't seem fair that property owners and our guests would be impacted by the burden associated with increased parking at the PCC development. And one example of that is the staff report implies that the city ordinances regarding parking are going to be less restrictive for the PCC development. For example, a normal development would require 2 parking spaces per unit. The PCC development allows for less than that in a number of instances. For a 1-bedroom facility, 1.5 parking spots are going to be allowed instead of the required 2 under the city ordinance. That's the type of thing that shouldn't occur, because that is the type of allowance for parking that will lead to additional use on the local streets that will impact residents. The environmental report talks about how one could then require employees and residents to go park in a parking structure 2 blocks away. I'm not sure that that's actually going to happen. If there's an open spot on the street, people aren't going to go back to a parking structure, walk up and down the parking structure 2 blocks away from where they want to be within the PCC development. Rather, they're going to park out on the street, and that's going to impact local citizens. And the other aspect is on the environmental report section, I believe it's section 4.13.4, they talk about how 5 intersections are remaining at a level of service E or worse. And once again, that's something that PCC should be doing to mitigate. We should be asking the developer to make things a little bit better and not impose worse parking situation and traffic situation than we have today. The Appendix J mentions that there's going to be another 2,500 daily vehicle trips caused by the PCC development. And they're doing a number of things to address that, which is great, but they're not doing enough, in my opinion, from a parking situation. That concludes my comments. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak to the commission, and I hope you will consider what I've had to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Can I ask, are you a local resident around the project?
No, I'm a property owner. I rent to someone that uses one of the condominiums on Palm Street.
Okay. Have you ever considered applying for a position on the Planning Commission?
If you would take a non-resident, maybe I would.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you very much.
Work in the past.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Are there any other individuals on Zoom who would like to make public comments? Before we go to Zoom, we have someone in the audience. Please go ahead. Please step forward. Tell us your name and where you live and what you'd like to share with us.
Good evening. I'm Byron Washam, resident of Palm Avenue and a homeowner there. I was here at the last meeting. I understand we're going to continue probably again. I just have a question and a comment. How much longer will you be open to receive communications on the EIS, given this last minute communications that you've received?
Sir, my advice would be if you had comments to get them in as soon as you can, since we're already going to be responding to one letter.
Okay.
There's no reason why we can't respond to yours as well.
Yeah, we would like to study it in concert with evidently this detailed letter that you received. And when we come back with our comments, it will obviously be on the subject of traffic, parking, and the transformative change that this brings to El Segundo, particularly Sepulveda, and being the first mid-rise residential development on it. So I thank you, and by making my comments today, I would say that this board has a very important responsibility on this activity. I did not share it with you. I'm the former chair of the Marina del Rey Subregional Planning Committee back in 1975. So I've long been involved, and I look forward to working with you and the staff and continued working with the developer. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, anyone else in chambers? Step on up, sir. Tell us your name. Tell us where you live.
Good evening, committee, commissioners. My name is Ray Lawson. I'm with the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. We live and recreate in this area, and we work in this area. These are my brothers and sister members here. We appreciate the fact that you are taking the time to review the ERR report for the Pacific Commons project. It was our council that sent that letter out, and you know, we also, beside the ERR, we also have a skilled and trained workforce commitment that we would like to also discuss or just bring to the forefront, that the members that live here are the residents that live in this general area of El Segundo, Redondo Beach, Manhattan Beach, Hawthorne, and so forth. We would like to see them working on this project if approved, because we believe in the opportunity, if they live here, that they should also have an opportunity to work here. And it also cuts down on greenhouse gases, transportation, and all those elements that go into construction of a project. If we give a chance to the local residents to work on these projects, we cut down on all those bad elements that can happen. And also, we're providing a trade, a career for the people that live in this area, and they may one day be able to live in the projects that they build. You know, because we're trying to offer a livable wage, a decent career, training, and so forth. So we appreciate the commissioner's time to taking the effort to review this, and we'll continue to be here and be present to find out the progress of the project. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for your comments. All right, anyone else in chambers wishing to make public comment? How about on Zoom? Anyone else on Zoom? Oh, we have some hands raised. Can we start with Mr. Paul Morrison, please?
Yes, my name's Paul Morrison. I live at 421 Indiana Street. It's going to be just opposite PCC. Is it MU1 now? Is that the classification? Specifically, we're going to be right opposite the parking structure. I had sent a letter earlier and it was addressed, and I would like to bring up the same topics that I brought up in that letter. The EIR on table ES1, the summary of the project impacts. The question is, would the project displace substantial numbers of existing people or housing? The impact, less than significant, no mitigation required. In my letter, I stated that I've been a party chief as a surveyor for over 30 years and have worked construction. I know the nature of these projects. I know the noise that's involved with them, and especially around this parking structure that's going to have to be excavated, and the perimeter is going to have to use bulkheads, and it's going to have to be stabilized, and I-beams are going to have to be put in place. And if you use a pile driver, I not only am going to hear it, but I'm going to feel it. My windows will rattle. And that's from over 30 years of experience of being around projects like this. My contention is that this is a $62 million project. The city is going to benefit greatly from increased revenue. I've been a 24-year resident of the city. My rent is substantially lower as a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment than anything in the surrounding area. If I'm displaced from this housing, I am basically banished from the city of El Segundo. I recently retired at age 68 because my body no longer will perform the work required. I was hoping to continue my residency in El Segundo. And I really believe that we are in the bullseye of this project as the impact of being less than significant. I think the developer and the city have a moral and a social responsibility to long-term residents of this city that have been citizens and productive citizens and have contributed to the well-being of the city of Los Angeles and the city of El Segundo. I would just hope that if we're displaced, that the city does consider mitigation measures that would make the impact on me less than significant. Because if they don't, it means I'm simply out of a residence in my retirement at half the wage that I used to make. And I would rather stay in the city and enjoy where I live, but I view dimly our prospects of this apartment building being economically viable after 2 years of construction. I see residents leaving, and who's going to move into a site with a massive construction project directly across the street from it? So I appeal to you and bring up my concerns about this project, the devastating impact that this could have on me. And I'd be more than happy once this project starts to revisit it every 6 months or 1 year. And we'll just see if I'm right in my prognosis of this development. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Morris. Can we hear from Amalia Pavoli, please?
Hi, good evening, Chairperson Baldino and members of the Planning Commission, and thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Amalia Pavoli Fuentes, and I am a legal fellow with Lozo Drury LLP, here on behalf of Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility. We filed written comment earlier today by email, and those comments incorporate by reference the comments provided by the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, which were filed on April 12th, I believe, of this year. And those comments also are supported by the environmental consulting firm Soil, Water, Air Protection Enterprise. So we reference those comments in our letter. And our comments also include analysis from Bud Offerman, a certified industrial hygienist. So to begin with Mr. Offerman's comments, he reviewed the project documents and concluded that there's substantial evidence that the project will have a significant health risk impact from its indoor air quality issues. Case law holds that agencies must analyze impacts on a project's users or residents, and he estimates that future residents would be exposed to a cancer risk of 120 in 1 million, and employees would be exposed to a risk of 17.7 in 1 million, both of which exceed the CEQA significance threshold of 10 in 1 million. And this is even assuming that all materials are compliant with the California Air Resources Board's measures. And in their comment for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, SWAPE concluded that the FEIR's air quality model used several incorrect input parameters, which resulted in an underestimation of project emissions. SWAPE also calculated that the project would have significant health risks from diesel particulate matter on nearby sensitive receptors, one of which is 125 meters away. And they found a lifetime cancer risk of 79 in 1 million, which exceeds the 10 per million threshold. And lastly, SWAPE found that there were several flaws in the project's assessment of greenhouse gases and stated that the project's conclusion that greenhouse gas impacts would be less than significant was incorrect. And so for these reasons, I come here tonight requesting the Planning Commission not recommend certification of the FEIR, which I understand the meeting will now be continued until the next session. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your comments. Next, it's Maria Barton.
Maria Barton, yes. Hello, I am a resident here for about 27 years. I live at 1628 East Palm Avenue, very close to this new development. I concur with the three callers. There's concern with noise, the impact of the pollution, and also the parking. As you know, the parking here, I was actually thinking the reverse of what Nino had mentioned. I was thinking maybe it's best for everyone that is a resident here to have permit parking, so that way we can have a couple for each unit and we can pass those out. But I know the parking is going to be a problem with all of this development. Again, with the pollution and the noise, I think it's going to be pretty much unbearable to be around. We were supposed to have double pane windows at our location here, and then all of a sudden they ran out of funds. So that was one thing that was taken away from us. And now we're going to have all this noise and construction and pollution. I'd like to revisit us getting those double pane windows, which we should have had many, many years ago. But I'm very concerned. I have no idea why it had to be so many apartments that had to be in this one little area, because I saw the parking structure is going to be up high, and that's going to be a lot of pollution. We're basically going to be looking over parking lots, and I'm very concerned with with everything, to tell you the truth. As someone that's here, has raised children, I'm a mother, being a part of PTA, everything was about the kids and the family in this town, and I'm really concerned that it's not going in that direction. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we'll hear from Jim. Jim, can you tell us your name and where you live?
Hi, so my name is actually Matthew Klemp. I'm not sure why it came up Jim. It just automatically did that. I apologize for that.
At least you're not a cat, so that's good.
So yeah, Matthew Klemp. I live on Washington and Elm, are the closest cross streets. And I submitted a couple letters. I haven't really got a response other than that it's going to be entered into the public record. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I didn't really get a response to it. I had quite a detailed letter that I had an abbreviated form that was 20 pages, another one that was 100 pages long, and I had it was a detailed analysis of the EIR. But anyhow, aside from that, I'll just go over a few bullet points of my concerns. I would echo the same concerns as the previous three callers, and it revolves around noise, parking, traffic, and the lack of considering the alternate locations. And just a few things I noticed overall in the environmental impact report. It seemed to some of the key underlying assumptions and standards for the project were kind of questionable, because it seemed like it hinged a lot on a lot of people taking mass transit, a lot of people walking to downtown El Segundo, people walking to mass transit, I just don't. That has not been the case in Los Angeles for decades. So I just, if that was already here, I applaud that. It'd be great. Mass transit would be fantastic if people were taking it, but not doing it. To have a project hinge on the belief that people are only going to have one car for two people, or I forgot what the study was, but it was less than what the standard that El Segundo has set forth, and what the state of California set forth for the size of each unit. So I think that was really, it was kind of wishful thinking. It's like, well, this isn't going to happen. It's like, there's no one who walks from Sepulveda to Main Street. And if there is, it's less than 1% of the population. These people who are 3 blocks away from Ralph's, they only walk there, they still drive. So the assumption that people are going to be walking mass transit and walking to downtown El Segundo, that is not going to happen. And Mariposa, I don't live on Mariposa, but I know the residents there are very sensitive to traffic and noise, and it's already backed up not even during rush hour to make a left-hand turn. If you're eastbound going northbound on Sepulveda and Mariposa, it's already backed up. So that's just going to be worse. I know they're adding 1 right-hand turn lane, but for the number of the high density you're adding in there, I just don't see that being feasible. So, I mean, all the traffic, the noise that it sends to the neighboring community is extremely concerning. And that in one part of the report, it indicated that, or I was excluded that I noticed that single-family homes were excluded as a receptor of unwanted noise. So that was actually rather insulting. It's like, well, why wouldn't a single-family home, since they're only a block away, they're less than a block from the site, they were not included as a receptor of unwanted noise. And then I guess what else? Oh, the high density aspect of it. So I used to live along Imperial, close to El Segundo Dog Park. So, and anyone who has lived there or traveled through there or went to the dog park, parking and traffic is challenging. And so that area from, say, the El Segundo Dog Park east to Embassy Suites, those apartments there, this one location between 7-Eleven and Carl's Jr. on the kind of intersection of Mariposa and Sepulveda, you would take all those combined apartment buildings from the El Segundo Dog Park to Embassy Suites. You combine all those apartments and you're sticking them in basically one parking lot. So you take all that traffic, congestion, and parking, and you're putting it in one small area. So if you already have trouble in the El Segundo Dog Park area, not trouble, but congested, difficult to find parking, it's just going to be, much worse the case, at the new location. And the other thing, as far as alternate locations, they seem really, it was easy to rezone it for this purpose. So why can't we rezone other parts of El Segundo? Because right now the El Segundo population sits on 99% of the El Segundo population sits on 25% of the real estate the El Segundo has. Yeah, I know Chevron's like, maybe another 25%. But south of Grand and then obviously east of Sepulveda, there's so much real estate available that would not impact, you'd take away a lot of the objections to it would be taken away if those alternate sites were evaluated or looked at or built on. So I'm not sure what the drive is to put it in an already populated area when you got 50 to 75% of the rest of the city that is not populated. So yeah, I appreciate the time and listening and opportunity to share my feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klemp. Did you have a comment, Michael?
Chair, I just wanted to clarify for Mr. Klemp that his letter is incorporated in the final EIR, which is posted to the city's website, including the response to his comments starting on page 213 of the final EIR posted to the website. That's page 213 of the PDF document itself. Otherwise, I think that doesn't look like there's any
Thank you for that. I didn't realize. Thank you for that. All right, thank you.
Doesn't look like there's any other hands up, and I just wanted to thank the public for those comments and encourage any comments to remain for when we actually do open the public hearing for the item, when we continue the item, and also request that the commission withhold comments specifically related to the project and any deliberation until staff and our consultant team have an opportunity to address the questions and the comments that we've received tonight, both tonight as well as the new written comments that we received yesterday. With that, I'll give it back to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Allen. Since we have concluded the public portion, the only thing left is to get a motion for continuation. We do not have a date certain, which means that we will re-notice this to the residents, and those who live by the project will receive another notice, and it will be posted as well. So with that, can I have a motion to continue to a date to be determined?
I will move to second to continue this item.
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote?
Chair Baldino,
Aye.
Vice Chair Newman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kilduff,
Aye.
Commissioner Heschler,
Aye.
and Commissioner McGay is absent.
Thank you, Venus. All right, next on the agenda is new public hearings. There's none. Next would be new business. There is none, which leaves us for a report from our Director of Development Services.
Thank you, Chair. The only update I have is just a reminder to the Commission of those of you who are available Monday night of next week. We're having our study session. I apologize if that was not one of your preferred dates. It was the earliest and only date that we could get on the calendar for the SB 9 special study session with the Commission, while still keeping to our advanced schedule to try and get some objective standards underway and studied further and to brought back before the Commission next month and then subsequently to City Council. So I look forward to seeing you again on Monday evening.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Report from City Attorney's Office?
Nothing at this time, Mr. Chair.
All right. And Planning Commissioner comments?
No, nothing for me.
Well, happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Next item is adjournment. Our next meeting will be January 13th, 2022 in these chambers. Thank you.